everyone, welcome to I'm Not a Fan Unless I Have a Podcast. I'm John Hanford, and if you're watching, yes, this is still me. I just got a haircut for the first time in over 2.5 years. August 2018 was the last time I ever got a somewhat short haircut. And yeah, it was a real trip. I know there's probably a bit of a mind fuck. So just take it in. Um, but an even bigger mind fuck for me was that it had been so long since I had gotten a haircut that was like in any style. Cause like what I previously like with my previous haircut, I couldn't say, yeah, same style, just shorter. Like you can't do that with a sagging Jufro. No. But when you have like typically somewhat short hair, you can say, yeah, just to trim around and maybe square it off at the back and same style, pretty much, just shorter. Because that would be my go-to. That was my default when I went to the barber. And I know that on this podcast, I kind of stumble over my words from time to time, and I go off on tangents that become non sequiturs. And you know, so it was like that in the barber chair, but I just had I mean, I was just fucked. I didn't know how to speak. So I just eked out like, I used to look like Rachel Maddow. Can you do anything with that? And I don't think, and she was like, yeah, I don't know who that is. She might have been more of a Judge Pirro type, but in any case, this is the result and I'm pleased with it. So, and another thing, like one of my biggest pet peeves is stagnation, and the idea that I like that I was just going to have the same look for, just an extended period of time was kind of starting to wear down on me. Just because I think constant change is always good. And, and with this podcast too, like last week, I took last week off just because like I wasn't feeling right. My guest who I have on this episode, Scott, he reached out to me after because we had recorded an episode. We had recorded this episode for last week, a week prior, like before, and just the vibe sucked. We neither of us were in our element. I thought like I was probably just in my head, but so I was just in the middle of texting him like, hey man, thanks for coming on the podcast. And I was about to write it, ship that off as episode 56, and you guys would have fucking hated it probably. Because he messaged me first. He was like, hey, any chance we could, I don't know, re-record? I mean, he didn't ask to re-record, but I was just like, yeah, if you want to, I'm totally down. Because he called me on my bullshit, and I appreciate that, because like I shouldn't be able to pass something off that like where my gut knows that it sucks. That shouldn't happen. And like I'm on an ever like a forever quest of self-betterment. I think it's good to always innovate and improve yourself. And anytime that you lose sight of that is when shit can get fucking hairy. So I was very appreciative of Scott for calling me on it and for doing this re-recording. We had a really fun a fun conversation, just talking about all the stuff with like the live stream show from Melbourne, and just LW, and just a bunch of other stuff about music and just and life in general as well. Because like I pride myself in having people from all over the world in this podcast, but I still have never had anybody from Alaska until now, because that's where Scott lives. And Alaska's like, it's such a vast, it's the largest state. Like I don't know if it's equal to two Texases, but it's fucking massive. And it's cool to talk with somebody who lives there, because it is a very isolated place, and just everything's very different there. So if you've never been to Alaska and you like King Gizzard, look no further than Scott. Here he is.
Thanks for taking the time to re-interview me. Sorry about
dude. No, dude, it was, I think it was very mutual. Yeah, like thanks, kudos to you for being like, because I was just about to say, you know, hey, thanks so much for coming on the podcast and everything. You're just like, dude, that wasn't great, man. and like, it was a big wake up call to me. Like I realized, like, yeah, there's like I got to rethink about like how I go about doing things like this. You know, like it's got to feel right, you know, like I can't force it. And yeah, so like that's sort of what I've, yeah, thanks for helping me realize like where I really was.
No problem. And I felt kind of embarrassed too, because I was kind of out of it, and maybe a bit more stoned than I should have been. And
Same.
I felt you need better content than that.
Yeah, well, and in all fairness, it's been hard to have it's been hard to like really have anything new to say when I've still been like trying to digest LW, and then also you know, just come up with anything fresh, because I've like, it feels like I've exhausted almost everything about Gizz to this point.
You have got almost 60 episodes, right? So
yeah, dude, this is gonna be 56.
Yeah, that is a lot of talking about King Gizzard. I mean, they're great, but I mean, I guess there's only so much you can possibly talk without you know, starting to repeat yourself.
Yeah, and I do repeat myself quite a bit. But yeah, like, if you got to figure, if every episode is like about 45 minutes to an hour, like I've got probably about 50 hours worth of conversations just talking about King Gizzard, and that is insane. Like,
and it's not necessarily a bad thing either. That's awesome.
Right? Yeah, and it's just like a whole bunch of derivative like tangents and stuff. Just yeah, it's been really fun. It's just like, yeah, like, just when there's nothing new Gizz related to talk about for some time, then yeah, it can get kind of stagnant and stale. But thank God that they did that live stream show from Melbourne. I saw it. I saw like a bootleg version of it, since somebody had recorded it on a GoPro, like originally, and so the sound quality was okay. But then to see this like as a full on production, you know, kind of like a chunky shrapnel light,
that was
really cool.
Absolutely, definitely one of the best concert videos I've ever seen, I think, because it just felt just so natural, and there wasn't like that many camera cuts that it was almost distracting. It was like you could really focus like you were actually sitting in the stands with them.
Yeah, well, I mean, there was that, and then also, I mean, it was cool how you kind of got like a 360 perspective, because like the camera would show the audience, you know, especially when Ambi's going out singing "Straws in the Wind."
That was cool.
Oh, it was terrific, and like the whole time he's doing that, I'm just like, man, the logistics with the roadie, the guy in charge of the cable winding and following him, like, you know, that's no easy feat.
Yeah.
So that was cool to see them, you know, try to get into, like, I don't know, whatever the music equivalent is of mid-season form, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was just stoked to see it. But yeah, you know, and obviously they started off that gig with Odd Life. Interesting opener, but it worked.
Absolutely.
Yeah, what were what were some of the songs that stuck out to you?
Definitely Odd Life. Rattlesnake is always great to see live. And Dust in the Wind was probably my favorite
Straws.
one from, yeah, absolutely love that one.
Yeah.
Shoot, I think Riddle Me This was great, but I think I like the studio version better, because I think there was more harmonica. But I believe if Ambrose was singing, it's a bit hard to do both.
Wait, which are you talking about? Minimum Brain Size or
Minimum Brain Size.
Okay, yeah. Yeah, well, and that's one thing that I've also noticed from seeing Gizz live, is that like Ambrose's harmonica, like Ambrose's mic in general is kind of turned down on the live on the show mix, and I don't really like I wish that they would turn it up sometimes, because like that harmonica kind of, well, and actually for ontology, I kind of thought that the harmonica was a little low.
Yeah.
Because sorry, I'm drinking seltzer here, so I'm like talking in
I know.
between burps. But
It's all good.
uh, but yeah, like just the harmonica is such a vital part, I think, of the ontology. You know, like that Western sound that it has.
Oh,
So
sure.
instead, you were hearing a lot of Joey's guitar playing
Mhm.
the guitar riff, which was cool. But like
Yeah.
on the album, you definitely hear a lot more harmonica.
Yeah.
And yeah, and I would, well, yeah. So going back to minimum brain size, was it just you were saying it was just a harmonica on that? I forget if I cut you off. Sorry if
Yeah.
I did.
That's pretty much the only I guess complaint I had about that song. I mean, it was still great, but I don't know. I've always liked good music with a wailing harmonica.
Yeah. Um, yeah, and I mean, obviously that is so much of Gizz's like signature, and that's actually been something that I've just been endlessly fascinated by when it comes to their microtonal stuff. Because like, how do you even tune a harmonica to be microtonal, or is that just from you know, his embouchure, just bending certain notes? If you could, I don't even know how, if you can do that with harmonicas.
I don't know. Maybe it's custom made or something.
Yeah,
And I
but
don't know much about how to play a harmonica. I just love the sound sometimes.
yeah, but it just has such a way of complementing um the rest of the microtonal sounds, like in Rattlesnake having the harmonica, um you know, basically playing the same thing as the melody,
Mhm.
um really accentuates it. Um but yeah, I was also really impressed with Plura live. Um like because that was a song, that was a video they released like just the day before LW dropped or something. um and I had no idea what to make of, I had no idea what to make of the song. I was just like, okay, this seems like a lot of like unnecessarily complex time signatures, but then see it play live and they get into a real groove, and it's basically just Cookie and Lucas just kind of uh really running point, I think, on the cadence of that song. um that was my sort of impression of it, and I just thought it was badass. Uh, did any part of that stick out to you?
Oh yeah, I absolutely loved the rhythm of that, and I loved it the first time I heard it as well. But yeah, it was just incredible to see live. I'm definitely hoping to play that one at Red Rocks.
Yeah, well, right. So and you know, so we did do one episode, kind of, and then we weren't feeling it. So so like we know each other a little bit, but the rest of the audience doesn't quite. Uh, so you are going to Red Rocks, and that's going to
Yep,
be your first time seeing Giz live.
absolutely. Yeah, I am just yeah, I'm totally looking forward to it. And honestly, I think I mean, it was going to be an incredible show anyway, but now that it's been pushed back a full year, and there's going to be so much anticipation.
Yeah.
I can't even imagine.
Well, I mean, it's crazy because like we're still talking about, man, I can't wait for Red Rocks, when this podcast was started as like a placeholder, just because like just a placeholder, just something to fill the void of Red Rocks getting postponed. So it's fun to see how, you know, the COVID timeline's working, but I
Yeah, oh, yeah,
but
absolutely.
also like when did you get your tickets for the marathon show? Was that like when they first went on sale, or did you get them like after it had been postponed the first time?
It was actually kind of strange, I guess. Like, I remember I was at work and I was just thinking, or well, I was listening to several bands, I believe, and they had all played at Red Rocks, and I was listening to several of their like Red Rocks performances, and I just thought, how cool it'd be to see a show at Red Rocks someday, just because it's supposed to like one of the most beautiful places to see a concert. And then like the next day I saw that King Gizzard, my favorite band, was going to play there. So I was like, no question. I told my girlfriend at the time, we're getting tickets and we have to see this. So I just, I probably could have spent that money a little bit more wisely, but I absolutely have no regrets.
Yeah, I think you spent it plenty wisely. I mean, at that point, you're just nitpicking, right?
Yeah.
But
I think rent was due and we ended up having to pay a little bit of a late fee, but I wasn't going to miss up the chance of seeing them at Red Rocks.
damn right, dude. I love that. Well, so yeah, how did King Gizzard come to be your favorite band? Like how long have you been a fan of theirs?
I've been a fan for probably since about 2017, not long after they released Gumboot Soup, I think. It was actually my uncle came up here to visit me in Alaska one time, and he was showing me this band Primus. And at first I absolutely
Fuck yeah.
And I was like, why would anybody listen to this? But then I saw he told me to watch some of their live shows. So I believe I watched their show at Woodstock 1994, and it just absolutely blew my mind. Like watching Les Claypool, but looking at some of the other shows that or other bands that he does and other projects, I started following his project with Sean Lennon, the Claypool Lennon Delirium, which is a lot more psychedelic, and that pretty much opened up that rabbit hole. I've always liked classic rock, but I never knew that it was that specific style of the psychedelic, I guess, subgenre that I really liked until I started listening to this stuff. And through Spotify, this band King Gizzard would pop up occasionally, and I noticed that they were there, but I didn't really give it a chance until somebody showed me this cool playlist they had made, and they had, I believe, most of Murder of the Universe and Nodding on Infinity on there, and it was, absolutely just blew my mind. I've been a huge fan ever since. And the more I look into it, the more interesting it got.
Yeah. Well, I mean that's really cool that you got into King Gizz like through Primus, and it's cool that your uncle also showed you Primus. That's a cool fucking uncle. But
Oh yeah, he's been
yeah.
a huge influence on my musical tastes.
Oh, word? Yeah. Well, like how old is this cool? How much older than you is this cool uncle?
Shoot, I think he might be in his might be 50, maybe late 40s.
Well,
But
that's righteous. That's
it is. He plays guitar in a band. He's trying to show me how to play the bass. I was taking some lessons, but recently had to stop just because other things got expensive with the pandemic, and I lost one of my jobs. And
yeah.
But hopefully I'll be able to pick it up again soon. But yeah, he got me into vinyl record collecting, and he's helped me grow my collection as well.
Oh, that's sick.
But yeah, awesome person.
Yeah. And yeah, I mean, Primus is just such a cool band to find Gizz through, I feel, because just because it kind of gives you I don't know, I feel like that in a way, if you're a fan of Primus, you're prepared for the just absurd hijinks of any band you might find yourself getting into.
Yeah,
And especially something with that's so rhythm heavy, because like I've always thought of Primus as being like Les Claypool is the lead bassist, and then you've got this guitarist that's just like kind of adding background filler. But Primus is like mainly bass and drum driven, and
it worked so well.
yeah, well, and then and they're only a 3-piece, and their drumming and bass is so good. It's almost like how King Gizzard recorded Infest the Rat's Nest, where it is very focused on the drums and also Joey Walker's bass, and then obviously played live by Lucas, who's an incredible bassist live, just has a life outside of recording stuff. So,
Yeah, yeah.
but by the way, did you see like one of my favorite parts of the like the microtonal tour that gets taken is Lucas's bass, his new microtonal bass, like that 5-string. That thing is fucking sick, and I just wanted to give it a shout out. I don't know the manufacturer, but
It
I'm a
is
huge fan.
I'd love to learn to play 5-string. Be really cool to get into a microtonal stuff, but I think I would need to probably learn the basics a bit first. But
Yeah,
and he is an incredible bassist. I just love the rhythms of King Gizzard.
yeah. Well, and especially like, I mean, the drums in King Gizz have always been a huge factor, but I really feel like uh the drums like really took off. Like they really became like they kind of just took it to the next level in 2017 with like, you know, with like that krautrock style drumming, with
Yeah,
flying microtonal banana, murder the universe, and obviously everything on Polygon Land. But yeah, it really seems like in the last, I guess, yeah, the last 3 or 4 years of Gizz, the drumming has just become like almost the root of so many of their songs. And it's been cool to see Cavs pick up a whole bunch of writers credits.
yeah, for sure. I think, and I absolutely love Eric. I think, but him leaving kind of helped give Cavs a bit more freedom to maybe explore different rhythms that would have been a bit more difficult to sync up with two people.
Yeah, that's a good point, because like, and that's something that I've thought about. I was literally just thinking of, it was a shower thought today. I was thinking about like like does Eric still play his drums from time to time? Like, do you think he would play in another band, or is he just perfectly content running Flightless and just doing that? And it made me think, like, how many people can just go from playing professional quality drums in like in a world touring band to just, like a day job almost, and be content with it. Like, or actually that's not what I was saying. That wasn't the point of it, but like what would, to go from, like basically it's how much better is Cavs than Eric, where Eric could just like take a lateral move to running a record label. Like,
Yeah,
it's so silly to me. But yeah, I because it didn't seem like Eric was holding Cavs back necessarily.
no, yeah, not at all. In fact, I actually thought Eric was the lead drummer for a while, but that was also before I really looked into who the musicians were exactly.
Oh, I always thought Eric had a very, very clueless look on his face. Like he was like, I hope I'm following along close enough. But um, yeah, but I mean, they're all, I mean, they're all geniuses. So I guess it's not that surprising that it works, but
Yeah,
it's still just something that's weird to me. Um,
and I think that's something else I just love about the band is like I feel like if a lot of other bands, if they had somebody else who was kind of like maybe not completely necessary to be in the group, they would probably just let them go. But King Gizzard just seems like this really cool group of friends from high school, and they just loved hanging out so much. They never stopped doing it, and that is just incredible. And even Eric, even though he's not like officially part of the band anymore, he's still the guy who's running Flightless, so he still has a lot of input. I imagine.
yeah,
Although I like to see him at Red Rocks, I think that'd be really cool if he made like some sort of comeback.
yeah. I
Just
mean, that's something I've been trying to manifest through just talking about how much I want it, and um, like I for him just to at least show his face on stage and like wave hi, just be like, guys, I made it, but these guys are gonna play. At least that would be great. But I do still want to hold out a little bit of hope that like they bring an extra drum kit,
yeah, I mean it's Red Rocks. Like if you're a musician, like that's when you've made it pretty much. I would imagine. I guess is when you get
Yeah.
to play.
Well, and like even not even, you don't even have to think like you made it. It's just like it's such a legendary place. How would you not, like, how would you turn that opportunity down? Plus,
Exactly.
like and you know, they had been saying, or like after they released that news that Eric was leaving, they said, you know, this has been, we knew that this was going to happen at some point, but I wonder if they had made that decision before they found out they were going to be playing Red Rocks. Like was there a point where Eric was like, guys, I'm going to be playing Red Rocks, or he was just like, guys, you're going to be playing Red Rocks, and I'll be out of the band by at that point. Um, it's yeah,
I can't imagine anybody turning that opportunity down, though.
and also, like, would it be weird for the band to extend that opportunity to the guy who left? Like
Yeah,
a little bit.
maybe, yeah. But I mean, like I said, he's still managing their label that they created. I feel like he's still like an honorable part of the band, you know, really being on at least 14 of their albums.
Yeah, yeah, and for sure, like he's always going to be a part of the band's history. But like in terms of managing them, because like he had also been their manager, but
Mhm.
he basically removed himself from everything except for just running the Flightless label. Um, but yeah, I'm sure he'll at least show up to Red Rocks. I mean, God, I hope so.
Yeah,
Like I just, everybody needs to see his face again. You know, like,
make sure he's still alive.
yeah, I mean, I don't know, have him as a stowaway. You know, if their budget's low or something, but yeah, take them all over. Take Eric all. Like Eric Moore world tour is what I want to see. Like I remember somebody a few years ago made a Pipe Eye UK EU tour t-shirt, because like Pipe Eye's never gonna actually tour, but somebody made one just because it's funny. Now I'm thinking, like, why not just make it just an Eric Moore t-shirt, just like
Yeah.
um celebrate the fuck out of that dude. Yeah.
Oh, for sure.
um but yeah, in any case, you know, back to present day Gizz. You know, so one thing they did, you know, around Christmas, or I guess it was on Christmas Day, they announced like all the bootleg stuff, and that all of a sudden became a thing that, a precedent that they set. And then they went ahead again, and with Live in Melbourne 21, they've released out a bootleg. And you know, so like I forget which guy had the record, but I just placed an order for one of the bootleg vinyls today. So yeah,
Nice. I did not know
that's
that existed. I'm gonna have to check it out.
yeah. I know. I think Mystery Jack Recordings is also doing a press of it, or a pressing of Live in Melbourne. But yeah, I got it from ugh, damn, I'm blanking on who it was, but I saw like yeah, I'm totally blanking on the record label and everything about it, but it's very cool. Like it's like a multicolor, like splatter color vinyl pressing. Um, has some insane name that I'm totally blanking on, but yeah. In any case, it's just really cool to see that they're kind of sticking with this bootleg model. Um,
Yeah, for sure.
for like, yeah, just like their live stuff. Um, did you happen to check out any of the bootlegs or buy any of the vinyls from the first go round of bootlegs?
I've never gotten into any of the, I guess, the bootleg records. I guess I have some that are not necessarily flightless. Like my version of LW, I think is by like King Gizz Records, which I think is an independent thing. So maybe that's a bootleg.
Oh,
It's still, I ended up canceling my, I think, uh, Caroline version because it just was taking way too long.
oh
But
yeah.
apart from that, I've never really gotten into the bootlegs or even the live recordings as much. I've been content collecting the studio albums, but I don't know. I've listened to the Live in San Francisco, and then this concert that they just released was also incredible. I think I'm gonna have to change my mind on that and probably have to go start collecting some.
Yeah, I mean, like I for me, it still doesn't get any better than Live in Nashville, 2019. That I think was their that was my favorite live show from them. That they released in the last year. Uh, although also Live in London, um, at Alexandria Palace was also incredible. Just really good set list and like because the main thing is that just boggles my mind or that blows my mind with when it comes to live Gizz recordings is just how much of that energy you can kind of feel from the audience and just that anticipation of what song are they about to play next and because it's all over the place like
Yeah.
spoiler alert, but like at one point in Nashville, like in the Live in Nashville show, they go from playing Side Boogie uh directly into Loyalty. So like that segue from Side Boogie to Loyalty is just like what the fuck? It melted my mind.
I
Um
love their transitions. That is something else, entirely. That is just it doesn't need to be that complex and awesome, but it is.
yeah, well and like also because I know you do have a pretty wide taste in music, pretty pretty open minded. Um, but like, have there been any other bands that you listen to or on their albums like the songs just segue or transition just smoothly like Giz seems to do almost on every one?
Mm, I think there are. Maybe some of the stuff by the Who on like Quadrophenia. Um,
Well,
shoot,
never mind.
can't think of off the top of my head. I'm sorry.
Yeah, no. It's okay. But I mean, because and like I guess it was a leading question, but I
I
because like
still
I've
brain salad surgery. Um,
wait,
that
which one?
one, brain salad surgery by Emerson, Lake and Palmer. They're they're really long, uh, popular one. I can't think of the name, but it's essentially they're like half of the first side of the record and then all of the second side of the record. But it's I guess separated into like 4 parts.
Yeah. Okay, that makes Emerson Lincoln Palmer is that yeah, that's a very good call. They seem like a band that would have those transitions and like really be mindful about how they structure their music. They're amazing. But yeah, it's fascinating to me because like I've always enjoyed listening to albums, front to back, all the way through, and like because you do get a sense of like after you listen to an album enough, you do get a sense of like, um, you get that anticipation of like what the next song is because you know what it is,
Yeah,
and so like then after you hear that one song, it's just like all right, there we go, I got that, I heard it, it's satisfying because you're expecting it. Um, but yeah, with Giz, just how they segue, I thought it's interesting how when they do Ontology live, they play like that last little groove from Some of Us
hmm
before going into the Woo, and
yeah,
yeah, that I wasn't really anticipating. I figured like Ontology was going to be a song where they would just start it with Woo, and then here we go. That would be
yeah.
that'd be a great way to start a show, you know?
Oh, for sure. I Another transition I thought was really great in that show was the transition to Sleep Drifter. Um, I thought that one was really cool. They played I think the first riff from Nuclear Fusion, and I got really excited because that's probably my favorite song from that album. But
Oh
then they
yeah.
kind of skipped it, but it was still phenomenal.
Yeah. Well, and yeah, the Sleep Drifter, Honey Suite, or I don't know if it's not really sweet if it's just two songs, but they are sister songs.
Yeah,
But because like I like how they played the Honey riff like at the beginning just before going into the Sleep Drifter solo or intro.
yeah,
Um, just because yeah, it's kind of cool like when they just kind of noodle around and just quote from a few different songs of theirs because it leaves you kind of wondering like, hey, are they going to be playing? And
Mhm.
and then also just you could kind of see them like kind of getting into their, just kind of changing up their gears, and just like kind of softening it, you know, getting into that groove, because I think they're playing something a little faster initially, or prior to Sleep Drifter. I forget the track order, but yeah.
I also think
Anyway,
another. Sorry. Yeah, I thought of another band that has those really nice transitions. It's probably the Grateful Dead, specifically on their Grateful Dead or Live Dead album.
yeah. Well, I mean, the Dead are like master improvisers, you know. And I mean, I just from anybody that listens to this podcast knows how much I think like there's such a parallel to be drawn between the Dead and Gizz.
Oh,
Um,
for
you know, and in terms of like their, you know, varying set lists and improvisation, like totally. Um, but the Dead, I think, were a little better in terms of just segueing super smoothly, just on a whim
Mhm.
into whatever. Because yeah, they were a little less planned out than Stu and Giz.
Which is saying something because a lot of their stuff seems completely just off the wall. But I
Yeah,
mean, the later stuff though, I like the last two albums were I noticed it sounded a lot tighter, and I guess Stu mentioned it in one of his Reddit posts that they felt more prepared, which was weird for them, but and it still sounded great. Yeah, I mean, I guess it's just a natural progression over time, but a tight Giz just still sounds good.
yeah. You know, something else I really like about this new tight Giz uh is how they're physically set up on the stage. How it's just like, you know, just 2x3. You know, it's you got the rhythm section in the back, you know, Cavs, then Lucas and Cookie on either side, and then you got like the three, you know, fucking frontman, like three dudes totally capable of being the frontman.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
In Ambrose, Ambrose, Joey, and Stu, like
Mm-hmm.
Ambrose. I gotta stop stumbling. Um, but yeah, I just like how it almost seems like they're owning this dynamic a little further, like really hammering it home. Like, all right, here are the three lead guys, and then these guys are also involved too. But sadly, I feel like that means Cookie's not going to be singing. Uh,
Yeah, probably not. I mean, they could still switch around on stage. There's nothing preventing that.
I really hope so. I've never seen Cookie perform a song like I've seen King Gizz live 5 times, and I've yet to see Cookie take a mic. Um,
What song
and
does he sing? I suppose that.
well, so he hadn't been doing anything live for a while, but then last year he started doing Down the Sink, which is a great fucking, you know, song off of Gumboot. Um, and but yeah, I mean, in addition to that, like, you know, I think my favorite Cookie song is probably Time Equals Fate off of Paper Mache. Um,
Okay.
it's just so simple, and yeah, I just like it. But also, he did "Pop in My Step" off of "Float Along Fill Your Lungs," um, and "Dust to Dawn" and "Ligon Street" on Sketches, which yeah. So I'm a huge fan of Cookie, and I wish, you know, that he would do more, that he would sing live. I shouldn't say do more. He does a shit ton.
Oh, for sure.
um, yeah, just being like, just adding whatever whimsical sounds or accentuations. Um, but yeah, so of all the Giz sounds, would you say you have any that uh that sort of appeal to you more? You know, like such as some of the jazzier stuff, or more of like the doom sludge type of stuff they've been experimenting with?
I think part of it probably just depends on my mood. Like the mornings, I absolutely love their smoother stuff when I'm waking up. Like I'll often start my day with quarters or paper mache dream balloon.
Yeah.
But I suppose my favorite sound of King Gizzard is probably their more psychedelic stuff. Fell probably close behind their more kraut rocky kind of stuff. That's still kind of a newish term to me. I'm like don't know exactly what that means. I know of a few bands that I guess have that label.
Yeah,
But
it's
yeah, those are probably my favorite sounds. I like a lot of their heavier stuff. Didn't like Infest the Rat's Nest as much. Still a phenomenal record.
mhm.
Probably my heavy metal record, I suppose.
Word. Yeah. So yeah, I well, and because one thing that when you're talking about psychedelic sounds, were you sort of talking about like float along or mind fuzz, or are you going more for like the sounds from like work this time, like stuff off of Oddments that's like a little wackier?
Um, Probably all three.
Yeah,
um,
that's fair.
yeah, yeah. Uh, Shoot, yeah, it's probably though. Probably the Float Along, Float Your Lungs, and Mind Fuzz are probably my two favorite albums. Followed very close behind by Ottomans, which I know a lot of people don't like as much, but oh man, I just love how goofy they get. I love how they can be so complex with their music, and their lyrics could be so deep, but they're still not afraid to sing a song like Vegemite.
Yeah, yeah. Or I mean, like, I mean, even the song, I mean, well, I mean, just like a little machaca, like, it's just like, what the fuck is that? It's just apparently it's just some experimental, who knows what the fuck. It was just like some kind of jam that they just threw together.
I would
Um,
love to see that live, honestly.
yeah,
I
I
guess
mean, because it was, as far as I understand, it was an improvised track in the first place. Why not just go into an extended jam?
jam on it.
Um, yeah, that'd be kind of fun. Like, what if that was their um, what they opened with? So it just like, and then like as the song progresses, just like each additional band member comes on stage. Like it starts with, just like Joey fucking around with some keyboards or whatnot, and then Cavs just getting a beat going. And yeah, I don't know. It's like almost like it kind of sounds like just like the background music to like how you would introduce the troop members in some kind of carnival or cabaret or some shit, or burlesque show, like
Yeah, but I feel like it's a perfect opening for that particular album.
absolutely.
It's great.
uh yeah, very underappreciated. I agree. But yeah, so like when you listen to Giz, is there anything that, and like this is sort of a complex question, so please feel free to take your time thinking about it, but um yeah, like when you listen to Giz, is there anything that you're listening for, whether it's like lyrics or like different time signatures, or different types of like sounds? Is there anything when you like, have you caught yourself looking for any one of those things more than the other, like your first time listening to a new Giz song?
Uh, Probably that signature thing that you do with the guitar. That's like wang 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 wang, and like
Yeah, 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 the delay effect.
yeah, yeah. I love that. I love the just the drum rhythms. I guess the polyrhythms.
Hmm.
Yeah, I guess things like that are what I what I mostly look for. Um, yeah, they just something about the rhythm. It feels like King Gizzard.
Yeah.
Um, Even with some of their more boogie stuff, I guess.
Well, yeah, I mean, because the way that I've heard it described a lot, just in both talking with people and then also seeing comments online. One of the most commonly used phrase or terms, I think, when describing LW is how much it grooves and how each song is its own very distinctive groove. And I kind of love that, because that is exactly what any kind of catchy rhythm is. It's a groove. Like you have to get into it in order for it to work. And that's why everything works. It's so easy to get into. But
Absolutely.
yeah, I mean, because like I remember when I was in like band in high school, and like we learned something about different time signatures, but when it came to like counting it out with the music we were playing, it was just like, this sucks. Like I don't, sure, there's 5 beats in this measure, but I don't care. But with Gizz, it's like, fuck, let me count. Like it makes me want to like try to count it as like a way to challenge myself. Yeah, like it invigorates my spirit and like it inspires me and shit. Yeah, I think we're all kind of on board with with that notion.
And in fact, now that you mention it, I think probably my high school band director probably influenced a lot of my music as well. They didn't do a lot of songs that had like simple melodies or melodies that would necessarily always get caught in your head, but we'd do these really weird, complex stuff that just it sounded so cool. And I had no idea. I guess it also made me appreciate instrumentals more and long jam sessions and things like that.
Yeah. Well, no wonder you're a fan of Emerson, Lake and Palmer.
Oh
No,
yeah.
but yeah, and it's funny because like I was just talking with like I was just jamming with some of my old hippie friends. Like they're in their late 60s. So to jam with them is kind of like traveling in a time capsule. You know, yeah. But one of them was telling me all about like how he's never missed a single Emerson, Lake and Palmer show. Like when they used to tour in the US, he went to every single one. And
Dedication.
I mean dedication, and I'm impressed he's able to make it work with his budget. But
Oh yeah, that too. Oh my god. More shows.
yeah, it must have been something else to be just young in the 70s and 80s.
Yeah.
um but yeah, but point is that's a band that I've been meaning to, but like I've realized recently I need to kind of check out a little more. Yeah.
Takes a little bit to get into. Like I didn't really I guess I didn't get it the first time I listened to it, but Carnival number 9, that's the name of that really long song in Brain Salad Surgery. It's so catchy. It's just cool because
Yeah.
it that I guess rhythm like 4 times.
Wait, can you repeat that last part? You cut out for a second.
Or I guess they repeat that uh really catchy part like 4 different times throughout their like 4 movements. Like they'll do that kind of intro thing and then they'll go into a lot more kind of just weird stuff.
Oh yeah. So yeah. Well, and yeah, King Gizz kind of does that. Like with Crumbling Castle in a way, it kind of has, or like the river, or like
Yeah, it
yeah,
always goes back. I see through the trees.
yeah, yeah. But yeah, and there's just like a whole bunch of different movements, and then yeah, it comes back to that one refrain, and yeah, I
do it through different albums too.
yeah, I just love that. Wait, hold on. You're saying King Gizz does it through different albums, or Emerson,
Yeah.
Lake and Palmer does as well?
Well, I haven't heard it through Emerson, Lake and Palmer, but
Okay.
King Gizzard definitely does. I guess with like the flute part and maybe Float Along for Your Lungs, and it being like the same guitar part as in Mind Fuzz. I don't. I'm terrible with the names of the individual songs because I'm
yeah,
listening through the
yeah,
album.
right. But yeah, there were definitely. I mean, because yeah, throughout like Mind Fuzz, Nonagon, and Murder the Universe, like there was a lot of yeah, definitely a ton of crossover, and also Trapdoor and
Oh,
Balrog. Yeah.
yep.
Yeah. I mean, and actually, that's something that I would like to see a little more of again. It is, I mean, obviously with KGLW, we get that's spread across 2 albums, but
Mm-hmm.
yeah, but to see like just some more sort of unexpected like nods to other songs of theirs. Yeah, the interconnectedness of Gizz is I don't know, maybe something that they're moving away from. Like
I honestly don't think that I mean, I think that they've taken the whole Gizz first thing is now more of a marketing thing.
Yeah.
I don't really think it was intentional. I think they were just a bunch of guys jamming out, and then they decided to make this um, maybe the sound and just spread it across different albums. Maybe unintentionally, but I do love the idea of the Gizz verse and how it has taken off.
Yeah. Well, I mean, like I definitely, I'm sure that it was intentional, like to have like the similar sounds off of Mind Fuzz, Nonagon, and Murder of the Universe. But like, yeah, in terms of the band's development, um, and just how they're I guess experiencing themselves, they're just like, hey, let's move on to some other stuff. Who knows? They might come back to something like that, you know, in future albums. But I'm also okay with if that was just what they were doing in their early years.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, because they're constantly innovating, trying new things, and I think that's good. um,
Oh yeah.
like you never want to stay doing the exact same thing. Because I remember I used to be a big Pearl Jam fan, and like when I was in high school, I was like, man, I love their old stuff, but like all this newer stuff, it's like, where's that anger? I want to hear Eddie Vedder, be pissed off. I don't want to hear him on whatever spiritual bullshit. Like, and now that I'm like almost 31, I kind of get it, but um, but yeah, it's like you can't keep something, you know, like the same forever. Then you're gonna look like Def Leppard, like they're in their 60s and still wearing like skin tight leather. And what are you doing, guys?
Yeah. Yeah.
Like going in, playing a song on the Howard Stern show in Sirius XM studios just because like their target audience really likes Def Leppard. Like that's just sad to me. That many people like love to live in the past like that. But yeah, thank God for Gizz and innovation.
Absolutely. Yeah. Yeah. Having too much of a repetitive sound, I don't think has ever been one of their problems. Although I did hear a little bit. I think I was reading a review of LW, and they were saying, "Oh, it sounds too much like uh, Flying Microtonal Banana." But I was like, "Well, I mean, that's kind of the idea with the whole Volume One of exploring microtones versus Volume Two."
Yeah, I mean, also there were certain songs of like, yeah, I would agree that there were certain songs off of LW that were sort of in the same vein as Flying Microtonal Banana, but with KG, like that was very, very new and
Oh, for
fresh. But also off of LW, I felt like the entire A side, um, was just as revolutionary and brand new for Giz.
oh, for yeah.
Between If Not Now Then When, ONE and Supreme Ascendancy, I'm just like, these are totally different sounds. Um, and I really like how they've been sort of doing the kind of like lullaby dreamscape uh element and just with If Not Now Then When and also ONE.
Yeah, absolutely. And then it just gets right into that groove right afterwards. It works so well. It's great. I think the only reason why they didn't jump out at me as much when I listened to the album was because they had released it as singles before.
Mhm.
So I was trying to like if there was any songs from those that like really jumped out at me, and they're probably my favorite songs, but because they're already singles, I kind of was able to listen to them a few times.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, ONE I think that is my favorite song off of LW just because of how hard it grooves and then just like,
Mm-hmm.
um, yeah. Also, the video going along with it is just like, if you're able to put aside all of your distractions and just focus on the screen and just focus on the video and the journey, like I would love to see that in IMAX, or like do like a VR of a Giz music video. Like how fucking insane would that be? Um,
Shoot, that would be incredible.
yeah, man. We're gonna get to wrapping up kind of soon, I think. But before I let you go, is there anything that you've been thinking about Giz related that we haven't talked about yet?
Um, guess where do you think King Gizzard could go with their next album, or is there anything that you would like to see them explore more? I would kind of like to see them do funk, but I don't know if that could possibly work because they funk kind of has a certain rhythm that I think is kind of opposite of what King Gizzard is.
Yeah, I know exactly what you're saying, or I have a pretty good idea as to what you're saying. Um, I think funk is within their range, but it would be a very Gizzy funk, you know, in
Yeah.
the same way that like Sketches isn't jazz, but it is very very jazzy, and like it a lot of elements of that remind me of you know African jazz, Mulatu Astatke. If you haven't heard of him, um, awesome Ethiopian jazz musician. Um, also has a an album called Sketches of Ethiopia. Also has a song called Tezitas. So
Okay.
it's Joey was definitely lifting, but it was. But yeah, I think it's totally plausible, and it's ultimately a challenge. Why wouldn't they do it? You know?
Exactly. Who would have thought they would have made a spaghetti western?
Yeah, well, and like they keep going back to those like spaghetti western sounds with ontology, and then and also with Intersport is that's kind of a funky, like they call it a house, like a Turkish house track, but it's got some funk element to it.
Oh, yeah, I suppose it does.
I mean, just purely in how it pops, like,
Hmm.
and so knowing how well they pulled that off, I I think they could totally do something funky. Um, I'd say probably in the next 3 years get something on that wavelength. Hopefully,
Yeah.
yeah. I mean, like I actually have recently started listening to like Funkadelic and oh, actually, if
Sure.
you're a bassist, do you listen to Mono Neon at all?
I don't think I've heard of them, but
Dude, it's just this one dude. He's like, yeah, he's this experimental funk bassist. He played with Prince for a little bit, but he just releases like his own shit all the time. Like he's putting out like 5 albums a year almost, of just
nice.
like silly funky songs. I'll send you a link to his stuff later.
Nice.
Yeah, he's one of my favorites to listen to.
I'll definitely have to check it out.
Yeah, man.
Oh, uh, good based.
Yeah, man. Um, well, yeah. So, shit. I can't wait to see Giz at Red Rocks, and like obviously I can't wait to meet you there. Um, you
Yeah,
know,
likewise.
yeah, we didn't really get to talk about Alaska too much. Because that's where you're based. I'd be remiss if we didn't somewhat touch on that because because like I've had people from all over the world on this podcast, other continents, and like sometimes Alaska isn't referred to as part of like you're because like we're the lower 48 and you're like I don't know.
Really.
Alaska's the biggest state in the U.S., but we treat you like you're your own continent or something. How does it feel to be bigger than Australia?
Well, I didn't know that Alaska was bigger than Australia,
I
but I
actually
mean,
don't know that it is.
and it's pretty huge. What, at least a third of the size of the lower 48. I love it. I feel like in the lower 48, it's like towns and cities with spots of wilderness. At least growing up I grew up in Michigan. There's still plenty of forests and stuff, but if you hike maybe 20 minutes in any direction, I'm sure you'll eventually get to a road. Maybe not so much in the Upper Peninsula, but yeah, Alaska is completely different. Like I live in Fairbanks, and that is we've got a population of about maybe 30,000. I think there might be 100,000 in the borough. We don't really have counties; we have boroughs. Um, and then 2/3 of the population lives in Anchorage, which is like an 8-hour car ride south. Um, Everything is just so far away, but I love it. It is just so much wilderness. the daylight is pretty crazy in the summertime. uh Even right now in the springtime, we're like, I think at 50% daylight, but it just happens so fast how we're gaining like 6 to 8 minutes a day.
Oh
um
man.
Seeing the northern lights like the last week, they've been absolutely incredible. And when I was at work, a adolescent moose approached me and sniffed my hand and nudged me so I can say pet a moose now. I'll have to send you the picture. It's pretty great.
Dude, that is fucking fantastic.
I and I need to say this. I uh, don't ever encourage anybody to ever try to pet a moose. I was standing in a doorway and it approached me, but they are legitimately like the second most dangerous animal up here.
Yeah, so I've heard, you know, because they also have moose at a Yellowstone Park, and I went there over the summer, you know, and they also have, you know, they have buffalo there, which
Mhm.
are also quite dangerous.
Yeah.
And yeah, it's like they're so one of the biggest takeaways I got from visiting Yellowstone is that there are a lot of ways to die stupidly by way of other animal. And you know, so try not to do that if you know, want to not be in the news. So
Exactly. Yeah, just and they're really cool to see far away. They can be pretty because they are huge. Like,
yeah, I mean, at least a ton, right?
oh yeah, ton and a half. And they stand like 8 feet tall. It's not including the antlers sometimes.
My God, dude, that is so cool. I mean, yeah, and thank you so much for sharing that experience with us on this podcast, and thanks for coming on the podcast. I really
Nope,
appreciate it.
no problem. Had a lot of fun. It's great.
Hell yeah, man. See you at Red Rocks.
All right, yeah. See you at Red Rocks.